Hello, this is the start of a new series about Mercury through the houses, and I thought we'd just talk about Mercury a little bit first and get to know what it actually indicates. So, in the natural zodiac, Mercury rules uh, third house and sixth house, Gemini and Virgo. So they're both of them are actually dual houses. One is air sign, Gemini. The other one is an earth sign, which is Virgo. So they're both very, very important houses. They're both Upachaya houses, which means they're big time, and once you start working with them, they start to get better. And this is really very much indicative of what Mercury is, because Sun is the king, Moon is the queen, and this is their son, their child. So there is, wherever we have in our charts Mercury, we are slightly immature about it, because obviously this is about young children, kids, youth, adolescents, students. So this is all very much about the process of growing and things in wherever. Then once we apply ourselves, things get better. So there is a naivety about the house that Mercury resides in our chart. So I thought we'd just have a look and just see, what kind of things are indications for Mercury. So Mercury is obviously communication, because it rules the third house of natural zodiac. So you're born in the first, in the second one, obviously you're with family, you start to speak. And then third house is you start to move, express yourself, communicate what your needs are. So it's very much about self-expression. And you start using your hands and gestures, so as a baby, you see that they know what it is to say goodbye. They just, if they don't like something, they can use their hands and just like push the food away if they don't want to. So it's very much about like learning to let the others how you are feeling, and that actually never leaves you. And we know, all of us in life, that people who have the most fulfilling lives and relationships are the people who can actually express themselves fully, let the people know they kind of know, they know their own boundaries. They just know how, when things doesn't sound right, they can just communicate it. And those are friends and family members that we respect most, because we know that if they don't want to do anything, they can't be persuaded really, and they know themselves, they know their mind. Sometimes they're a little bit willful, but nonetheless, though, it's not a bad thing. So it actually rules Mercury rules friends, siblings, communication, any form of communication, rules the arts, rules things like intellect. I think Sun is intelligence and Mars is logic, but Mercury is practical and intellectual, and that's, I think, one of the things that Sage Gemini says about the sixth house, is that it's an important sign of the zodiac, because it's like literally how you get by day to day, how you manage yourself, manage your life, manage your money. Without a good Mercury, people can hoard, people can't, they just cannot, they become like victims of their own weakness, if you like, in relationships, in jobs, etc., where they can't express themselves, and people think that they're okay with the status quo, and then there's just misunderstanding going on there. So it is a very, very important thing. But obviously, both third and sixth house, there are Upachaya houses, so they do get better with time. But generally speaking, because it rules friends, neighbours, siblings, and your colleagues as well, so it's literally is how we kind of interact with people, friendships, associates, those kind of things are all very mercurial things. Mercury rules currency, stock exchange, stock market. It any kind of work which is paperwork, like clerical work, learning, students, schools, any form of travel, moving around, exercise, being active, being out and about, hobbies and interests. I mean, it's such an important planet. Jobs to do with computer as well, so any form of technology, mobile phones, computers, satellite dishes, anything like that is all to do with graphic design, marketing, visual arts generally, things you make with your hands, any form of talents and skills, courses that you do to learn things that then they can apply to your life. All of those are to do with your third house, which is all to do with Mercury. So Mercury is siblings, and obviously in the third house, it's also your will and your bravery as well, because this is when you've been born, you start to talk, then you start to express yourself, and you start to become brave. This is probably the time when your brother or sister, younger or older brother and sister, they come and take your toy away, and you have to fight for your toy, because this is like, no, this is mine. So you have to be brave and tell the person no, set boundaries and allow them, or if they do something wrong, you kind of brave it and say, don't do it, don't touch my toy, don't eat my sweets, things like that. So it's that kind of thing as well. It says also it rules fast food, because it's a fast moving planet, and so this is when you meet up with friends, go for a cafe, go to their coffee shop, have a coffee, and maybe an express sort of food like sandwiches and pizza. All those sort of takeaway foods, fast foods, are all ruled by Mercury. So, and it's obviously travel, but short distance travel is ruled by Mercury. And so this is the reason why when you're actually working, because Mercury likes to be busy, and is curious as a planet. So when you actually get really stuck on a project, it's really good to start moving. Just go for a short walk or make yourself a drink and just move around a little bit, and that kind of helps Mercury, develop things. It's strong in the first house, so it gets directional strength in the first house. But it also means that in the first house there is things that needs to be developed, because wherever Mercury is in our chart, that's where we are a little bit young about it, a bit naive and immature maybe even about it, because we don't really, it's a young thing, it's a young planet, and it needs to develop over time, and things just get better with time. However, in the first house, it will always have that real focus. From there, it will be aspecting your seventh house, so it indicates that you want to be with somebody, because Mercury also rules games and having fun, doing fun things, comedy, being comedic, jokes, things like that. So it likes a bit of banter. And so when it's aspect in the seventh house, you want to be with somebody who maybe was your friend, you can be friendly with, you can chat to, you can have a laugh with, and do like fun things together, like go to dance classes together, or you go to, I don't know, go to walking groups, or just kind of interact, go to the cinema together, travel together quite a lot. They like that. They like somebody who's active. They go maybe to hikes and go skiing together and things like that. So these will be very important to them. And it also rules kind of interaction in terms of business and commerce. It's all ruled by by Mercury as well. Mercury does make the person, particularly if it's strong in their chart, multi-talented, because they want to know a little bit about everything. And you find that when you have Mercury Dasha or Mahadasha, as Mahadasha or the Subdasha, Antardasha, you actually get interested in all forms of different things. If it falls like in your, because it's data and information, and particularly if it falls in your 8th house during a Dasha, you want to do research to gain more information. You're just hungry for information. And it rules as a planet, obviously 3rd house rules your hands, your arms and shoulders, and in the 6th house rules your digestive system. And so, and the Mercury in the first house or anything like that will actually, you also kind of notice that he has got third and sixth house indications as well, but obviously in different houses that house indications will come into it as well. So Mercury does really well obviously in Gemini because it rules Gemini, and it also rules Virgo. Virgo is not just own house, but at 15 degrees is actually also the exaltation degree of Mercury. And from 15 to 20 degrees, it's actually, I probably say the rest of it, it's like more Trachona sign, which means like the head office of very comfortable there. And it also is debilitated in Pisces. And obviously, you know, Mercury is friendly with the Sun, Venus and Saturn and Rahu, Ketu. But it very much struggles with Jupiter and also with Mars. These are the two planets that are not good with for Mercury. Mercury does, if it is close to Saturn, it will have issues because obviously it means that it develops even later. There's a shyness about it, has difficulty expressing itself, and there's always like, particularly because it is also a planet that's it's an earthy planet, even though it rules an air sign and an earth sign, but generally speaking it is an earthy sign. It likes material things, and so when it is in earthy signs, it can have a jealousy issue as well, because it is the green-eyed thing as well, you know, because it's immature about things, so it can have like those things as well. So so generally speaking though, if it is in an earthy sign or in earthy planet nakshatras, person has got to really work in order to move forward, not to actually be hung up on what other people have or what other people did, and actually just free themselves of all that and then just move themselves forward. Because when you work with Mercury really well, Mercury gives you a lot of things in life because it's a fun planet, and why wouldn't you want to have all the fun in your life? So, and obviously this is going to be about a sort of like a Mercury that's not in conjunction or aspected by any planets. I'm just going to give you the purest form, and it naturally also rules the skin, and rules respiratory system, and also your nervous system and allergies. So you often find when it is either in transit or in a dasha, or if in your chart naturally is actually in, say, in Jupiter sign or in Mars signs. In Mars, it will give you inflammation of the skin, so you have to really kind of, as with anything, it gets better with time. You know, because Mars is impulsive, and obviously this is Mercury's planet of speech, so it can give you reactive, impulsive speech. You say things without thinking, because that's what Mars does. You know, sort of agitates Mercury, and that can happen with conjunction, aspect, or Mercury sitting in Mars's sign. So that can happen. That can happen the opposite as well if Mars is in Mercury signs too. When it is with Jupiter, or in Jupiter nakshatras, or in Jupiter signs, or Jupiter also in Mercury signs, they're opposites, and they really are very different agenda. So Mercury is a bit gossipy, and it's a little bit fickle because it's a planet of fast moving. It's young, and obviously, you know, Jupiter is wisdom, the wise one, the older one, you know. So and so there is like a gender issue there. So that can also, because also what happens with Jupiter expands everything as well. So you'll find that the person who has that, they can't stop talking. And sometimes even if it's happening in, like, say, for example, in transit, you can't help yourself but just like over talking. It's such a chatty, or if Rahu does the same thing, expands like the speech, but not in a bad way. But with Jupiter it does, because Jupiter just can't stop it, because it expands it. And Jupiter can be a little bit like what's the Jupiter is a little bit like I know best kind of thing. So it gives that kind of it projects that onto Mercury as well, so things come out like that. And sometimes it creates problems with the nervous system. And obviously because Jupiter rules liver, we can actually start having liver issues. So we have to be careful about those kind of things. Be just working on our planets, because remember, our planets are us. It's how we. So once you can actually work with wisdom with everything. But I really do think it's a wonderful, wonderful way to use your chart really well to your advantage. So. Obviously, because it rules your respiratory system, some of the remedies with Mercury are really easy. So I think Mercury always does better if you got afflicted Mercury, is to always be aware that you need to exercise, you need to be active, and you need to spend time with friends and cousins as well, because six houses, cousins and aunts and things like that. So. And you just want to be like, so do connect with people, do join groups if they are interested in cooking, do a cooking class, carpentry, things like that, because they can be very multi-talented. And it really does you good to do some breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, things like that, but particularly breathing, just learning to breathe. And because it rules the respiratory system, and that really, the oxygenation really helps your digestive system, because it rules the digestive system. And normally Mercury, sixth house Mercury has got issues, but if it's or sixth house or Mercury, or it gives you digestive issues. So you can have all those things like candida and Crohn's disease and things like that can occur because of that. So by oxygenating and slowing things down, it can really help. Just taking, using the best in best things in life. So just wanted to say also, so wherever Mercury is, it will also aspect 7 houses away only. That's the only time. And so what will happen is those areas of your life, you do well to share them with friends. And it kind of, because it's also a benefic planet, it really helps kind of have an approach with it that that things will improve. Mercury is the only planet that changes its nature according to the planets that it sits with. So if it's conjunct malefics like Rahu, Ketu, Sun, Mars or Saturn, it does become malefic. And also, so its nature can be a little bit negative. And also the other thing I wanted to say was that it's I only take 8 degrees away from the sun as a combustion, because it's a planet that is friendly with the sun and travels with the sun and Venus normally. So therefore, it can actually work really, really well with the sun, as long as within 8 degrees. Obviously, if it's retrograde, then you have to really kind of take maybe 10 degrees. But generally speaking, it does work okay with the sun. It gives good intelligence as long as both of them are ruling good houses for you. But yeah, so the house that they're in, they're definitely going to be, if it is on its own, then it's going to be really good. So anyway, that's about Mercury. Thank you. So Mercury in the 5th house. 5th house is obviously our heart chakra, and natural 5th house in the zodiac is Leo. And I'm sure you all know that Leo ascendants just love being in relationships and they love the whole dating, romance, partying. That's, you know, at their heart. That's very important to them. So this is literally, it's like the connotations is like, because Mercury rules the third and sixth natural houses of zodiac, Gemini, and also Virgo, and it's now gone into what would be the fifth house of zodiac. And third house is artistic, it's like it's self-expression. And now this is like bottom of the third house, so it's very important house. It really shows how creative you are. People have got like the bottom of the houses is the strongest point. You know how like 10th house, you might have a really good 10th house, but if your 7th house is really strong, so it just gives you a really, really strong career. Because it's 10th house from 10th house. So this is third house from third house, and therefore it's very important. It's a trinal house as well, and it's a house that normally will be a friendly sign to Mercury, but obviously for each of us it's different. Every ascendant will have a different fifth house, and the condition of the Mercury that I'm talking about today is dependent on no afflictions, no conjunctions, no benefic or malefic connotations on it. But clearly if it's in a friendly sign or own house, it will do much better. So it does really well in Gemini, fifth house, Virgo if it's fifth house, and also Venus's sign, so it would be Libra and Taurus. It's kind of pretty good also in Saturn signs, but obviously it's unfriendly with Jupiter and Mars, so they will give slight difference to the result. So this is fifth house, as you know, is speculations, partying, romance, investments, stock and shares, gaming, playfulness, sports, and you know, competitive sports is sixth house. Just normally just sports and entertainment, media, all of that is fifth house. It's also a house of education, children, I think I said dating, fun, playfulness, you know, mantras, good luck from previous life, so Purva Punya as they say, so because the trinal house is an important house. Children and creativity, students, arts, media, writing, script writing, singing, ancient text, all those lovely things are part of the fifth house. So this is now planet of expression is in the fifth house. They'll be highly expressive, and also because Mercury is really good at duplication. It's called the duplicator planet, because photocopying and all of that is all part of what Gemini stands for, and so therefore is able to like, for example, they can be given like a script and they can just read through it and actually just literally deliver that role as though they are that person. They're just naturally good at expressing themselves. And so you can imagine if it's in a house that it feels comfortable in, it'll be great. I forgot to say actually that Leo obviously feels comfortable in Leo's friendly sign, but it's with the moon, there's always a connotation. There's a little bit of difficulty with Cancer and Mercury. It's very expressive, but it's very emotional based. So, and it's a planet of intellect and emotion. So it gets that's why it gets debilitated in Pisces. So. Anyway, so these people have got that intellect and to actually learn lines really well and deliver really well. They're really talented, really, in that sense. So, and they can really put themselves into like children's shoes and think like, you know, so therefore they become really, really good teachers. because they can resonate with, because it's an immature planet really, in a sense. You know, it's a young planet and it's learning and it's very curious, wants to know things, so they can really resonate with children. So therefore they normally make quite good teachers really in life. So and so yeah, so whatever the skills they are, whether it's like gardening, writing, you know, they can be really good sports. And they can really, like if they're telling a story, they know exactly where the punchlines are, where to do like a silence pause, you know, where they need to put more effort into it. You know, they just highly expressive. You know, this is so they probably will be very good writers in that sense. And they can literally get into the psyche of people with their expression in a sense. Highly romantic. So this is also your heart chakra, fifth house, and having Mercury, a playful planet in there. So they just like to have, they like to be in love. You know, love and romance is important to them, and they want to keep it nice and fresh and young. So they're kind of able to put energy into that in a sense, and leaving little notes for their partner, and they express how they feel. So if they have, you know, their partner cooks them a nice meal, they're very nice with actually nice gestures, and be able to express that love towards them. That, you know, and they're the same with their children. Actually, they're playful with their children. They got that sense of fun that's very youthful in a sense. So yeah, being in love and romantic and communicating with a partner becomes highly, highly important to them. And you know, as I said, you know, like Leo ascendant is very much like, you know, they're charming, and so this is like when you have the planet of expression in a charming house. It's lovely. And because obviously, you know, they want to express these things, and that's the reason why they get married, because they you know, who wouldn't want their partner to tell them romantically all these nice things, you know, and they create a really nice nice life together, if you like. From there, obviously, it's aspecting the 11th house, and this is like Mercury blessing the 5th house, blessing the 11th house, being a natural benefic as well. So they the house of desire, 11th house, and they can normally, particularly if it's a good planet for you and good condition, they can actually fulfill their desires, particularly when it kind of matures. And they normally have a very good supportive network of friends as well, which helps them create opportunities for them to have the gains that they want, because, you know, wealth and gains are important to them. And obviously they got all this practicality and analytical, intellectual mind to be able to invest well. I really think, you know, investments are it's very important to invest money in things. If your 5th house is good and your 12th house ruler is 12th house strong and 12th house ruler is strong, because otherwise it can create losses. So you know, if your 12th house, 11th house is strong but your 12th house is weak, it can create losses. So you gain it and then you lose it. So it's, you know, it's not for everyone. And so yeah. Anyway, so they're charming people, and I think that makes them quite nice company for their friends and groups too. So that because having a benefic also in your 5th house makes you attract more too, you know, because they got this charm going on, you know, 5th house being a trinal house. So it's pretty good. It's a good placement, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.